This tutorial is going to cover using the keyboard to maneuver through the control panel. What we will be focusing on, just to give you a brief introduction into this, is we'll maneuver objects by using the proxy in the control panel and the X, Y fields, setting the height and the width of these objects. Then we'll change to the text tool and we'll take a look at the character settings and the paragraph settings on the control panel and how to move around in those using the keyboard. So let's go ahead and get started on that. What I'm going to do is select an object on my screen, and you can see it's selected by the handles all the way around the object. Notice that the control panel up on top changed. This item on the left is the proxy. This is what we'll be looking at. The black box that you see, that's the reference point. And that reference point directly is related to the X and the Y positioning on your page. In this case, X is across, Y is down. I have my rulers on so you can see that this black area is the edge of the page. Where the object sits currently is lined up with the margin, the half-inch margin across and the half-inch margin down. So this is what we'll be controlling on the control panel. Then we'll switch to the text tool and go from there. So with my object selected, on a Windows computer it would be Control-6. On a Mac I choose Command-6. Notice that the top left of your screen here, the X field half-inch is now highlighted. So I can move around my control panel by pressing my Tab key. Tab takes me forward. The width, the height of my object, it allows me to select buttons. In this case, the link button, which keeps the width and the height together proportionally for this particular object. And I can then tab through some of the other selections. Now if I hold down the Shift key, and this is the key here in maneuvering and staying in the control panel, I hold the Shift key down and press Tab, and that takes me back. Notice each field as it's becoming highlighted. Now if I go all the way back to the left, notice now that the proxy is highlighted. If I press Tab, I go to the X field, it's highlighted. Shift Tab takes me back to the proxy. Now let's take a look at how this actually works. The reference point is top left, and you notice that the X and the Y are both half-inch. Now I can change the reference point on the proxy by using the arrow keys on the keyboard. Left takes you through one by one. You can use the up, down, etc. Notice that as I change this reference point, it also changes the numbers that are in the XY reference. And that is referencing this point, the top middle point, the top right point. It's placement of this object on the page. For now, I'm going to keep it to the top left, and I'm going to change the placement of this object by changing the numbers. Now the X, you have the X reference point here, you have the up arrow and the down arrow, and these change incrementally. So I can use the mouse to do all of this, but if I want to use the control panel, this is the method that I'm showing you now. So since I used the mouse, I clicked out. To get back into using the control panel, I'll use Command-6 or Control-6. Now to change, I press 0, and if I hold down the Shift key and press Return, that makes that setting stick, and the Shift key keeps me in the control panel setting. I press the Tab key to take me to the Y reference. Press a 0, hold down the Shift key, press Return, and notice where the blue line of my object is now referencing on the page. It's actually the edge of the page, the 0 point top left, and that's because I have 0 and 0 typed into the XY. So I'm going to go ahead and change those back by typing 0.5, Shift Return, Shift Tab to move up, 0.5, Shift key, Return, and that changes that object back on the page. So you can go ahead and play around with that on your page. Now, to change the width of this object, I could type in 3 inches, hold down Shift and press Return, and notice that I've actually resized that object. The reference point top left has remained the same. So to change that back, I can simply do Command Z, or I can play around with those numbers.